bitter leaf?
Yeah, they made it to a capsule.
Ordinary bitter leaf?
Yes,
There is a bitter leaf there. They just showed it that they made it to a capsule. It's a capsule. Yeah, I saw it on it. I saw it.
I saw the program.
Yeah, bitter leaf. And they got it from Nigeria.
They brought it to the West to make it a capsule.
Yeah.
Yes.
And they're selling it.
They are selling it now. I think a package is about $50-something.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Yeah, I saw it myself. They went to Africa and brought it in. They even showed it that they got it from Africa.
But I don't think anybody is drilling Africa. I think from what you said, sir.
The book now, can you see
Yeah.
my book? Why God is taking from
the those who don't have and do not fail to convert, because the problem is they are denying their world from succor, and the
Somebody has to
Lord wants to heal his people. He wants to release his people, so he must take those who have developed their mind to carry on the work, because that work must be delivered.
God care for people.
Somebody else will do it.
Okay.
The sons must arise.
Huh?
I said the sons must arise.
Sons, yes, sons must arise.
The effect of this religion, now
we have work in our hand,
yeah,
though.
we go to school not because we have a product we are thinking of delivering to the world, but we just want to be the next governor, next senator,
or next millionaire in the block.
To just steal the people public money and become wealthy. So everybody goes to get education, not because they want to impact the society, but just an avenue to get into the system and steal. And that kind of mindset has to change.
I personally think that all this, you people have to help to spread this word. Because all those series that I have on YouTube, I think we need to have as many people as possible to begin. There is Elizabeth Francis. What she does, she takes one of my books at a time, and maybe for a month or so, goes through chapter by chapter and opens people's eyes. And then what I think is that even the series, somebody can just be taking the series on his own.
Yes.
And just be we need to spread this thing. Because people might not go and listen. Okay, there is one other brother, Paul Akinpelumi. He just reviews about different topics of YouTube something. And people are thanking him. I mean, he's everywhere right now. And I think we need as many people as possible to begin to take each one of these topics that is close to your heart. Make it your own. Or take any of these books. Just go and use it and develop it and set people free.
Yeah. I think that the challenge for us is that we should convert something all the time when we decide other people, because if we just preach this, then the power will vanish.
Yes, yes. If we don't convert, it will disappear.
See, it's not. I was gonna ask you if any of us would.
No, you have to start all over again. Microphone.
I was gonna ask you if any of us could just go and download your CDs, your audios from YouTube, convert them to audio CDs, and give to people back home, because usually the internet is the problem. But if you can convert it onto audio CDs, they can play it.
Or even convert it. I kept on saying it. You can get all of them, download them, not even give them out. You can sell them, make money for yourself, sell them or give them for free. Anything you want. Just let the word go out.
No, I think for me, I used to think that way. That because you hear a lot that data is an issue, But if you really look at it, it's not really an issue. Why do I say that? Majority of Nigerians are on the internet. But what do they use their data for?
Laughing stock.
Yeah. Go online. You see a lot of Nigerians spending hours on Facebook, but it's just trash. But when you bring something that is worthwhile, because their minds are not developed, they are not, it's like hard work trying to get into this stuff, so they don't want to spend their time. So I think it's for us to look for a way how to actually convince them that they need to, I think, get into this stuff. And I think a couple of people have brought a lot of ideas that, okay, for example, you people in the diaspora, when you want to send things to
Money.
them, yeah, you give them that as a task, as a condition. You understand? And that's what I kind of started doing now. I don't send things, I send books. I send books.
And they must report back to you.
Yeah, I send books to them. If you are not ready to read the book, then you don't deserve
my
anything
money
from me. Yes.
Okay.
Guys, let's just go back to our agreement.
When do I finish today?
Just a short comment.
Short comment.
Okay.
1:30. Okay. And then you have photographs.
Just a short comment, because I think that the challenge for us is that, for example, I have hoped that Martin Luther's books would have been burnt down.
Mm-hmm.
And because that does mean many people are speaking more Luther than Bible. And that's the same situation here. We should be immersed to this teaching, but after that we shouldn't listen more these tapes, because we should be questioning what God is willing to do, and so we could be converting and living this life. So there's certain time limit in a way, the same way as apostles started a church, and then they left, so people who were left to live by the power of the Holy Spirit themselves. I think this is something we have to
Yes,
do.
we have to, help people to be able to be independent, to be able to discover God themselves. Yeah, that's what we have said. Everybody should go, take up your own topic, and begin to demonstrate it, and then help other people too to discover themselves. Okay,
Although he did hold
it's louder.
Although he did hold 3 patents, Carver never patented most of the many discoveries he made while at Tuskegee, saying, "God gave them to me. How can I sell them to someone else?"
He didn't make money from it.
Dr. Carver's works included the development of agricultural derived adhesives, gasoline fuel, shaving cream, shampoos, hand lotions, insecticide, glue, bleach, sugar, synthetic rubber,
Can you believe it?
and other innovations from natural agricultural resources.
So,
He devoted his life to understanding nature and the alternative uses of a simple plant. He is reported to have extracted medicines from weeds, and through the separation of fats, oils, gums, resins, and sugars.
he separated, he was extracting those things from the plant and then discovers new things. So do you now understand why I say you must know this man?
There are amazing discoveries yet to be found that God is waiting on someone to ask him about.
And we don't even need to ask God again. We already got the principle. The tool is already here. What he has revealed to him, we all can use it now without even going to God all over again. You get it?
Yeah.
Observe all he has taught us.
Yes, observe what he has taught us.
George Washington Carver is an excellent model for us of how God wants to speak to us. Here are 8 cardinal rules Dr. Carver gave for his students. 1. Be clean, both inside and out. 2. Neither look up to the rich nor down on the poor. 3. Lose, if need be, without squealing.
What is squealing?
Squealing.
Squealing. What is squealing?
Squealing. It's like shouting.
Without making noise about it.
4. Win without bragging. 5. Always be considerate of women, children, and older people. 6. Be too brave to lie. 7. Be too generous to cheat. 8. Take your share of the world and let others take theirs.
What a man. Wow. Value system. What a man.
You have to be someone to get a national monument named after you. Wow. And George Washington Carver was someone. Not in his own estimation, but by universal acclaim.
He has national monuments in the U.S. erected for him.
His own estimation of himself was summed up in his words, "Without my Savior, I am nothing." He sought his Creator for guidance in all things and gave God the credit for all his discoveries.
What a man.
Rightly does a national monument deserve to be named for him, because his story is an inspiration to all Americans. It is one of overcoming odds and serving one's fellow man.
From a slave.
Achieving greatness by good works and devoting oneself to serving others. It is a great American success story for which Black Americans and all Americans can justly find inspiration. For an example of doing science the Genesis way, it would be hard to find a better example than George Washington Carver.
The God way.
God told Adam and Eve to be fruitful and multiply, and fill the earth and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and the fowl of the air, and over every living thing that moves on the earth. Genesis chapter 1, verse 28. Liberal environmentalists hate this verse because they misunderstand it. It does not mean to run roughshod over the land, exploiting it for selfish purposes. It means to manage it as stewards of the Creator, for He alone is the one who owns the cattle on 1,000 hills, for the earth and its fullness are mine. Psalms chapter 50, verses 10 to 12.
You see, when we read these scriptures, we are always, in religion teaches us to always utilize God and say, oh, God did this, God did. But really, God wrote those things so that we would know how to copy Him, how to reflect Him, and how to duplicate Him, how to convert Him, how to act likewise, because we are His representatives here. But what are we doing? We are just worshiping that thing. You did it, oh, you are great, oh. Just like Jesus fed the 5,000. He fed 5,000. What a miracle. But the lesson is that we should also take care of the needy. We should feed the hungry. Instead of going to do that or convert that, we are today, he did it all. He's a great God. But he's not trying to impress you how great he is. He already knows by himself that he's great.
Yeah. He did it for them, he will do it for me.
That's so true. He's a church guy. Instead of you going to duplicate what God has done.
And the earth is the Lord's, and those who dwell therein. Psalms chapter 24, verse 1. Carver knew that it is He who has made us, and not we ourselves. We are His people and the sheep of His pasture. Psalm 100, verse 3. Since He is the creator and owner, We are mere stewards accountable to him.
We are stewards, you see. We have to be accountable to him. What did you do with all these things? That, for example, I would have been surprised if not for this guy. When I get to heaven, God say, what did you do with peanut? I have peanut. We are stewards. We should be accountable to him for everything. He's going to ask, what did you do with apple? What did you do with potato? What did you do with this? When we just walk through, we just stroll through earth for 70 years.
Now, it goes without saying that a good steward has to know the state of affairs of what he is managing.
You see?
So what does the Genesis mandate mean? It means, in effect, do science. Science was the
because science is the tool, is the instrument through which we could understand all these things that God, we are thinking that it's for science students. No, it's for all of us to be able to understand what to do with what is around us.
Science was the very first occupational career the Creator gave to the only beings he had made in his image, endowed with personality, intellect, will, and emotions. Science, the understanding of the world, and environmental stewardship, the responsible management of it.
We are not even stewards of the environment, of the universe, of the earth.
Are what dominion is all about.
Stewardship.
Implicit in this view is that the world is a vast puzzle to solve, an endless store of natural wonders to explore. It was in this spirit that Carver humbly asked, Mr. Creator, why did you make the peanut? Then went to discover other 300 uses for it. But we get ahead of our story. Carver's story is all the more remarkable because of the obstacles he had to overcome. He was born practically a non-person in Civil War times, the nameless son of poor slave parents on a Missouri farm around 1864. His father had been trampled to death by a team of oxen before young George had any memories of him. His mother and sister had been taken by slave raiders in the night, never to be seen again. Barely 6 months old, the boy and his older brother Jim were adopted by German immigrants, Moses and Susan Carver. Jim was the stronger one. Little George was short, weak, sickly, shy, stuttering, and nearly mute. Who would have expected great things from this unfortunate child? Yet the Carvers noticed special aptitudes in him: curiosity, keen observational skills, and love of nature. To these, they added discipline, hard work, and respect for God's holy book, the Bible. And they gave him a name to live up to, George Washington. The Carvers were too poor to give him much more than that, but it proved sufficient. Little George was ready to face a world of prejudice and start from the bottom up without complaining. At age 10, with a silver dollar and 8 pennies in his pocket, Carver walked alone the 10 miles to the nearest colored boys' school in Neosho.
Alone, walking. 10 miles at 10 years old. 10 miles. That's like 20 kilometers. At 10. Walking 10 kilometers at this age. To school. Because it was the only school for the colored that was around. So that's what I was saying, that it doesn't really matter what the government provided or didn't provide. The determination.
Sorry, sir. Is this the time he's probably walking through the woods in solitude?
You see?
And kept listening. He
I started
needed
listening
to go
to the
through
nature and hearing the voice of God in the woods.
At age 10, with a silver dollar and 8 pennies in his pocket, Carver walked alone the 10 miles to the nearest colored boys' school in Neosho. He would find a barn to sleep in at night and do any odd jobs a neighbor might need. From washing dishes and cooking to planting to pay for food and tuition.
10 years old.
Abuse from other kids or white folks did not
You see,
break
it's
his
even
spirit.
in the stamp, in the US stamp. You see, that's the stamp.
Abuse from other kids or white folks did not break his spirit. Carver knew how to pray. He always sensed the Lord was with him, and he knew that his loving Heavenly Father would take care of him and direct his paths. Besides, the trees and plants were too interesting to make him self-conscious over his own hardships.
He was more conscious of his calling, trees and leaves and nature, than his own weaknesses. He was not living in self-pity.
Passing each test and scaling each hurdle, George won the hearts of classmates in a Kansas high school. He developed many interests in which he excelled. Those who know him primarily for his achievements in agricultural science might be surprised to learn that George Washington Carver was a singer, artist, piano player, and debater. His spiritual aptitude took root in his fellowship with the YMCA. Throughout his life, he felt the sting of racial prejudice, even witnessing a lynching of another black man by the KKK. The white folk who knew George stood up for him when racial slurs came at him. He remained friendly, open, and diligent in everything he did, rising to the top of his class with high grades. He was accepted to Highland University on a scholarship. Upon arriving at Highland in Kansas, he was in for another major disappointment. He entered the president's office and announced that he was George Washington Carver, the one who had received the president's own letter of acceptance. Young man, I'm afraid there has been a mistake.
They didn't know he was a black. They turned him down. Even though he got the best results and he was taken by merit, but they discovered he was a black guy and chased him away from his scholarship.
The feeling of dejection can only be imagined as he walked around the strange town wondering what to do next. He never felt more lonely in his life. Again, he prayed. He decided he would find a college that would take him. He would work, save his money, and he would study hard. And God helping him, he would succeed. It would not be easy. He took a homestead in West Kansas and endured a blizzard alone in his cabin and more loneliness. Then word of a new college that would take coloreds came to his attention.
Because there were colleges, schools, but they were not taking blacks. Even though he had the resolve, he couldn't.
Then the word of a new college that would take coloreds came to his attention. And at age 26, he spent the $10 he made from selling his cabin and land, traveled to Indianola, and entered Simpson College. The rest is history. Though now older than most of the students and seemingly the only black student, George rapidly excelled and made high grades. He transferred to Iowa State and became the first black man to earn a bachelor's degree. Even prejudiced white folk made way for this rising star. He was invited to teach and earned a master's degree in agriculture in 1896. His work on plants and plant diseases was getting recognized. It came to the attention of Booker T. Washington, a friend of Abraham Lincoln, had founded Tuskegee Institute 15 years earlier as a place to provide blacks an opportunity for higher education. He gave Carver a strange proposition that a mercenary man would have snubbed with utter disdain. I cannot offer you...
This is the offer they gave him.
I cannot offer you money, position, or fame. The first two you have. The last, from the place you now occupy, you will no doubt achieve. These things I now ask you to give up. I offer you in their place work, hard work. The challenge of bringing people from degradation, poverty, and waste to full manhood. With a good deal of prayer and soul searching, Carver accepted. Upon arriving in Alabama, George Carver was stunned to find he had no lab, no books, no equipment, no helpers, and no curriculum. He would have to build the entire department from scratch. He was even expected to share a room with another faculty member. On top of that, he was expected to raise chickens and do other tasks he did not particularly care for, and the students were not that interested in learning what he had to teach. But Carver had learned to take life as it came and make the most of it. It was never easy. His relationship with Booker T was often strained, the latter trying to keep the institution from going broke, and the former more visionary than resources permitted. But they needed each other and complemented each other, as iron sharpens iron, a fact George never fully realized till after Booker's death. So from the ground up at Tuskegee, George set to work with the equivalent of 2 loaves and a few fishes, handing them over to the Lord to multiply them.
Look at his library, that self-made laboratory. Look at the kind of laboratory, was stove and things like that, pots, kettle. Sad. But look what he attained and achieved.
Improvising a lab with old bottles and spare parts and a microscope donated by his Iowa friends, he slowly got his bulky students on track and began spinning a list of achievements that overflowed by the bushels. His classes did experiments with sweet potatoes, trying to increase crop yields from 5 bushels an acre to 10, then 20 and 30. They reached 80 bushels per acre, a feat thought impossible by seasoned farmers. His all-time record was 266 bushels per acre with the proper cultivation and fertilization. Carver's abilities in agriculture must have seemed like magic.
Can you believe it? He was using the same principle God taught him in everything.
He experimented with crop rotation and found ways to replenish the soil. His list of useful products from common crops began to grow, including delicious meals from cowpeas and industrial products from sweet potatoes. As a ministry of help to poor farmers, He and his students put a classroom on a wagon. They traveled from farm to farm, showing farmers how they could improve their yields. George Washington Carver was poised to save the South from the devastation of the Civil War to new dangers on the horizon. Southern farmers by tradition were stuck in a cutting rut. Carver realized that not only did this deplete the soil, but the devastating boll weevil was slowly working its way east from Mexico and Texas at about 100 miles per year. He realized its arrival in the South will wipe out the cotton economy. Peanuts and other legumes, he demonstrated, replenished the soil. Not only that, they were extremely versatile and healthy. Grudgingly at first, the farmers took his advice to try growing the silly gubbers, doubtful that anyone would buy them. Carver tried to convince them that peanuts were an ideal food source. Taking his cue from Genesis, where God had said to Adam and the animals, "I have given every green plant for food." Genesis chapter 1, verse 29 to 30, and Genesis chapter 2, verse 9. He figured there must be more there than meets the eye. The threat of the boll weevil forced some farmers to take his advice and grow peanuts. But some became angry when they could not find a market for them. This drove Carver to launch a series of amazing discoveries. As he would tell the story later, he went out to pray, as was his daily practice, and asked God why he made the universe. The Lord replied, "That was a mighty big question for a puny man." Carver tried a smaller question: "Why did you make man?" As God kept narrowing the scope of his inquiry, he finally tried, "Mr. Creator, why did you make the peanut?" With that, the Lord was satisfied and told him to go into his lab and find out. In a spirit-filled rush of discovery, Carver separated peanuts into their shells.
You see what he did?
Skins.
You see?
Oils and meats, and found all kinds of amazing properties and possibilities. Most of us have heard this one of Carver's many claims to fame, that he discovered over 300 uses for the peanut. But have you ever seen the list?
Do you have the list? Speaks of the Bible. Okay.
You can find it on websites, but here are a few samples for the pure amazement of what came out of that humble Tuskegee lab. Soap, cooking oil, milk. What type of milk? Rubber, glue, insecticide, malaria medicine, flour, salve, fertilizer, paving material, peanut butter, peanut brittle, peanut clusters, dozens of other food products, paint, cosmetics, paper.
Ooh, from groundnut.
He amazed the faculty and students one day by serving an entire meal. Publicity.
Wow. Yes.
Appetizer, main course, side dishes, beverage, and dessert out of peanuts. Soup, salad, milk, coffee, bread, mock chicken, peanut ice cream, and a variety of candies and cookies.
All from peanut.
His peanut milk was indistinguishable
because
from
of the
dairy.
laboratory. Yeah, research. That's the benefit of research. His peanut milk.
His peanut milk was indistinguishable from the dairy kind. Farmers no longer had to worry about having a market for peanuts. In 1921, the United Peanut Association of America, now a thriving group of farmers thanks to Carver's help, sent him to Congress to testify about a tariff bill. The wary congressman, bored from days of other tariff arguments, allotted him 10 minutes. Two hours later, their eyes were still bulging from his displays of product he had made. His lively and sometimes humorous presentation had them spellbound. The law passed easily. Peanuts were just one of many plants Carver's magic with chemistry transformed into useful products. The George Washington Carver National Monument in Diamond Mo was Missouri. Was the first dedicated to a non-president.
Wow. Wow.
Yes.
He invented 35 products from the velvet bean and 118 from the sweet potato. How many of these things do you have around the house? Adhesive, axle grease, bleach, briquettes, buttermilk, chili sauce, ink, instant coffee, linoleum, mayonnaise, meat tenderizer, metal polish, paper, plastic, paint, pavement, peanut butter, shaving cream, shoe polish, synthetic rubber, talcum powder, and wood stain.
One man. What are we doing with our lives?
These and many other products Carver produced from plant materials. George Washington Carver became the father of a new branch of applied science called agricultural chemistry, or chemogy. The extent of his discoveries in this field are breathtaking and unlikely to be surpassed by any one person again.
Can you believe it?
Just a few of these products could have made a man rich, but Carver made them available freely.
What a man. What a man.
As a servant of God, he felt the Creator should have the credit for putting all this richness into the plants he had made. Carver did not seek fame, but his work brought him worldwide renown. Teddy Roosevelt visited him in Tuskegee and said, "There's no more important work than what you are doing right here." He never made much money in his 40-plus years at Tuskegee, driven by the needs of those he served there. He turned down a lucrative offer to work for Thomas Edison. He gave generously from his meager assets. Despite a high-pitched voice he inherited from a bout with whooping cough in childhood, he was a popular speaker. Projecting a visage of integrity with rhetorical intensity, characteristics of a black preacher, Carver inspired the young to rise above their hardships as he had and make their life count. All who knew George Washington Carver were impressed by his spirituality. Carver would often rise at 4 in the morning and go into his favorite woods to pray. Each day he would ask, "Lord, what do you want me to do today?" And then do it. Give us this day.
Conversion. Conversion. Today, yes. Conversion.
The goodness of God and the richness of creation was often in his lips. He said, "I love to think of nature as an unlimited broadcasting station through which God speaks to us every hour.
Broadcasting station.
If we will only tune in." Some
See
misunderstand.
what I was telling you about tuning in frequency. He knew it.
Some misunderstood his remarks about seeking the guidance of God and caricatured him as seeking divine inspiration in the science lab.
They were laughing. But the result now, how would they laugh again? No more laughter now. The result has shown it.
But Carver's science was sound. He explained to those who misrepresented his views, claiming he thought books were unnecessary. That, of course, he studied books. What he meant was that once the books are mastered by the scientist, the next step beyond the books requires inspiration.
Beautiful. You see? He has the knowledge, but he needs inspiration to guide him and to know exactly what to do and how to do it.
Without dispute, the Genesis account of creation was a foundation for Carver's scientific approach. Did he take it literally? Responding to news of the Scopes trial in 1925, Carver affirmed his belief that God had created man directly, but allowed for some transitional forms God might have made between other species. Another source quotes him as describing a plant having existed for millions of years. We must remember, however, that voices for a biblical doctrine of creation were few and weak during the early 20th century. Both churches and colleges often accommodated what the scientists were telling them about the age of the earth without questioning their assumptions. Piltdown Man and other false claims were still unexposed, and they didn't have evidences that have only recently come to light that overturned the commonly accepted ideas of his day. Carver never hesitated to confess his faith in the God of the Bible and attributed all his success and ability to God, says Henry Morris, Men of Science, Men of God, page 81. The fact that God had created plants and called them good provided the impetus for Carver to do his outstanding science. There are two ways to respond to discrimination: speak out against evil or overcome evil with good.
Mm-hmm.
Both are necessary, but Carver exemplified the latter. He did not have a prejudicial bone in his body, even though he was a target of racial bigotry on many occasions. Rather than join the ranks of the protesters, he quietly demonstrated that a man's worth is not to be judged by the color of his skin, but the content of his character. And what character George Washington had. He won the Roosevelt Medal in 1939 with the inspiration: to a scientist humbly seeking the guidance of God and a liberator to men of the white race as well as the black. As Carver became increasingly ill with age, Henry Ford had an elevator built in Carver's home to make it easier for him to move around.
Wow. Because Henry Ford admired him so much and said that he had never seen such a mind, and offered him to also work for him. And Thomas Edison too, they said, I've never seen such a mind. But he would not leave that school because it was for black people to give them future.
Entering glory after a long and productive life, he was given the epitaph: he could have added fortune to fame, but caring for neither, he found happiness and honor in being helpful to the world.
Neither fame nor fortune.
Dropped by George Washington Carver National Monument sometime when passing through Missouri. And don't forget to pack some peanut butter sandwiches. From a very young child, George Washington Carver was very inquisitive. When he was 10, he asked his foster parents why are grapes purple while visiting a vineyard. His foster father didn't know and said, "Nobody knows." "Does God know?" George asked. "Of course he does. Then I'll ask him, George responded and left the room. For George Washington Carver, that is exactly what he did. During one of his lectures, Dr. Carver described the conversation with God that got him started studying the peanut. I asked, Dear Creator, please tell me what the universe was made for. The great Creator answered, You want to know too much for that little mind of yours. Ask something more your size.
Okay, you know, we know the story already, yeah? We know the story. Oh, okay, yeah, go ahead.
Then I asked, Dear Creator, tell me what a man was made for. Again, the Creator replied, Little man, you still ask too much. Cut down the extent of your request and improve your intent. So then I asked, Please, Mr. Creator, will you tell me why the peanut was made? That's better. But even then, it's infinite. What do you want to know about the peanut? Mr. Creator, can I make milk out of the peanut? What kind of milk do you want? Good Jersey milk or just plain budding house milk? And then the great Creator taught me how to take the peanut apart and put it back together again. George Washington Carver ran to the laboratory classroom at Tuskegee, where he worked for the next 6 days and nights without interruption. When he emerged, he had over 300 uses for the peanut.
In 1 week. He ran to the lab, locked himself up, and never came out. Yeah?
Yeah, about the same. We just heard about somebody who got 30 books in 4 hours.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That was, yeah. Okay. So yes? Te потом это все есть там, да? The whole list is there. Or you can get it in the internet, the whole list of what it. So thank you. Let's talk. What are your lessons? Is it a great idea that I shared it with you?
Yes.
So let me hear your feedback. What do you people say? Yeah.
It's still boiled down to our previous teaching, sir. I think this is one of the major reasons why we don't ask questions. Because we feel that we already know what to do with what we have. For instance, like peanut, apple, and all this stuff. Because all I know is just to hit apple. And I'm doing what I'm supposed to do with it. We only know how to kill things. We kill them by eating them. We don't know how to convert. So because I believe in my hand, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do with peanut. I eat it. I know what to do with apple. I eat apple. I know what I do to do with banana. I eat banana. So why would I ask question again? I know what to do with a wife. So what do I need to ask question? So that's the reason why we don't ask questions, because we have been trained to kill things and not to convert.
Meanwhile, while the microphone is going around, I want to remind everybody, please, we need help, yeah? And our people have said, if you people will not help, they will do it themselves. I just need people to help me do PowerPoint, because we are teaching you and we need all these PowerPoints. So please, if you can do PowerPoints, you help. I mean, you can help with PowerPoint. Please write in the comment right now that I would like to help do PowerPoints. Please, anybody that can do it, or cut videos. If you can cut videos too, just write in the comment section that you can cut video. It will really help us to be able to serve you better. Okay?
Thank you so much.
You are a scientist, so let's hear you.
This is just mind-blowing. I never knew that Dr. Carver did so much feats. I'm going to maybe continue to study more about him and learn what I can learn from him. But I was just stirred in my spirit that I want to suggest that we should start maybe DSA could see how to do something about it and help to see how we can create a subject in schools called conversion. And every university, every college, every institute should begin to teach our people conversion.
Wow.
Every university should have a course, conversion. There's so much that we have been doing. And I'm reminded what Jesus said. Philip came to Peter and said, the people are hungry. Jesus asked him, what do you have? All he needed to do was convert what he had. And we have so much in Africa, so much in our families that we are not converting. If we could just begin to teach our children right from 10 years like Carver was, to understand conversion, I think the world would be a different place. Thank you so much, Mr.
Please, everybody, go and share this message with your friends and family members. Share, share, share. This could be the revolution that somebody needs. Somebody might need to hear this. So go and share in the inboxes and the groups. Let's share. This might be a lifesaver to someone.
Yeah, I had a similar thought as as Pastor Praise had, and the reason why I had
backward a little bit. Yeah, good.
Okay, and the reason why I had that thought was I just had a light bulb moment, because yesterday somebody said that the next expectation of creation. Yeah, so what just came to my mind was that just as God created us with a purpose, God also created everything with a purpose. But the purpose of creation was given to man. So it is man's responsibility.
That's why they are expecting
to bring out the purpose of everything God created. And that's why creation is crying that they are not fulfilling God's purpose because
sons are not arising.
Man is not actually bringing it out because it is our responsibility. And it just dawned on me that is one of the questions, because we've always been taught. Like, for example, when somebody was talking, and it came to mind when the Bible says that the manifestations of the sons of God, all those while we've been in church, the only thought we've had was to manifest is to do miracles. That's the idea that they propagate.
Not like this. Not like George Washington Carver.
So to manifest is to grow in the spirit to where you become powerful. You can heal the sick. You can open blind eyes. That's the manifestation we know. But it just occurred to me now that is not what God is talking, because He says signs will follow. So you don't even need to be thinking. What are the signs that will follow? Are things like this. So
nature.
One of the things I know God is going to ask us is, because in our purpose lie the purpose of creation.
That's the gospel of the kingdom.
So if we don't discover our purpose, the earth and all the creation of God will not fulfill their purpose.
Yes.
And God will hold us responsible for the purpose of the earth.
Thank you, sir. This is very, very mind-blowing. And
you
right
are a
now,
scientist too.
Yeah, I'm a scientist too. For a long time, God was talking to me to build a university from primary school to
university
to high degree, and make people release their potential, train them from their own abilities. Now I am understanding why I am here, and I'm telling that I will going to build this.
In Jesus' name. You are going to do this in Togo?
I'm going to do this
somewhere,
just in Togo.
Not only in Togo, all over Africa. But somebody was asking who is, I think the person is from Togo too. Because he was saying, I heard somebody is there from Togo. One day he was writing in the comment that who is this person from Togo? Can I know him? So I don't know if you find him or not. Okay.
With this,
He's in Canada.
With this teaching, I think it's high time we reverse this brain drain.
But I don't bother about the brain drain of the West, though. I bother more about the church brain drain.
Yes.
Sitting, people, millions of people are sitting in churches without being taught these things. For me, I think we are losing more from that one.
Yes. See, where there is a problem, there is money. Where one of the, the African nation is a place where people should look into. Like from here, from what you taught us, God will always value a developed mind.
Yes, sir.
So for those of us, anybody out there, you are qualified in the eyes of God. I want to plead with you, consider Africa. There are opportunities. Come back home. There are opportunities.
Yes. Follow my example. May I go home?
Back home, in terms of this medicinal stuff, could you imagine people are drinking chalk for fake drugs? Fake drugs. Most of the drugs people are taking back home are fake drugs. And that's why a lot of people are dying. So, those who have the mind can consider that. And also, that reminds me.
But when I was growing up in the village, we didn't take any medicine. The only medicine we were taking was those leaves and herbs.
Yes. There are a lot of people that are good at that. So we should be able to look for a way to encourage them. And those people that are good at these herbs, they should be able to understand their self-worth. They are self-worth. I mean, because it's part of ignorance. If they begin to know what they have, what is within them, and then step out to want to convert. So this message is not only, everybody should hear this message. It will motivate them to bring out what is in them, what is in us. Conversion is the key.
Yeah, but that's why the church, we wrote this book, How the Church Creates Economic Recession. We need to set the church free. They are the ones creating the problem. Economic recession is because of the church. Yes. And if you don't have the book yet, go get it. It's on Amazon, it's here, you can write for it. Yes. And for those of you who are back at home watching us, and maybe you are living in one of the countries that people here are living, we have people here from Finland, from America, from England, from different countries. Maybe you want them to bring some books back to you. You should write in the comment zone and tell them and write that, please, I need some books. So maybe somebody could help you. Who knows? All right.
I just wanted to add to the fact that, yes, I agree with everything we've said. Going back to nature.
You might need to stand. Is
that better? Okay. Going back to... Okay. Going back to nature.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Because most of these manufactured drugs, you find out that when you take one, then you have to take another one to combat a side effect. And a lot of times also, the side effects are not just the health, the body, the mental health. There are all sorts of, cases that come up. It's situations we find. Say, for example, in the UK where I live, where you're taking up to 6 to 10 different medication because there's one other thing that comes up from taking just one or two or whatever. So it's true that we have to go back to nature. I was in Nigeria a couple of weeks ago, and they actually, on the news, they mentioned about some drugs that had come in from somewhere in China or Korea or somewhere. And when they tested them, they found that there was human parts in the drugs.
It's Chinese who are able to do that.
So imagine the things that we're even taking that we don't even know, that people are taking that they don't even know. But God has already created everything in natural form for us to actually use. So I do agree, sir, that we need our eyes need to be opened. We need to create more awareness amongst ourselves. It's time to just stop sitting in the pews. We need to go out there and develop ourselves in whatever area. We don't all have to be scientists, but there must be something that we can do to even also encourage those that are the ones doing the research.
Especially with Nigeria so vast.
Yes.
That's why I wrote this book. Now I discovered that this book, The Beauty of Nigeria's Diversity,
Yes.
I think it should also be the wealth
Yes.
of Nigeria's diversity, because in our diversity there is not just beauty but wealth also. Because can you imagine what is hidden in every culture, in every area, in every state, in every village, we're untapped resources.
What's coming to me is just, I think I said it earlier, but I really want to emphasize it more, the damage that religion has done.
Yes.
And then I'm trying to see myself, and I think you mentioned it, that people need to speak out, because you just saw what one man, by virtue of his connection to God, his relationship with
today
God.
We have millions connected to God and no result,
Yes.
no conversion.
And and the funny part would just say Mr. Creator. He wasn't religious, he was just simple. Just wanted to, just curious. Just
no praying, tongues, no night vigil, no mountain.
And then when I'm just thinking of, when I'm looking at the church, the all-night prayer, the 70 days prayer and fasting, there needs to be, and I'm grateful for, I believe a revolution is taking place. It's a revolution is happening. It's happening already. I believe so, because there has to be a change. This message not just coming out just for us to say but I believe it's coming out for a change. This man lived how many years ago?
Almost 100 years.
And we are in this age, are still stuck in. No, we must break the chain of religion and release people to go out and do and discovery and all these things, because Africa needs to advance more than it has today. I'm grateful to God for this message. I believe we need to wage war against religious institutions.
Ignorance.
Ignorance of man. And
Mountain of Ignorance.
Yes, that's another book. I love that book.
Mountain of
Ignorance. You need to. Everyone needs to read The Mountain of Ignorance. That is a powerful book, and that's what is plaguing this generation. Thank you so much, DSA, for this. I mean, just from this man's life, not even just one message, many messages. You see conversion. You see a man's relationship with God. You see simplicity. You see service. They're just from one man's life. And I believe that also we can learn that from my life. What message am I sending my generation? What message will I send the next generation? It's just, and I can also, and I now began to see the reason why you like this man, because you can identify with him. You can identify with him in your own life, and it's also for us to also look for that personality that we can identify with, that we can learn from, that we can glean from. Honestly, I don't really study other people's life. I don't. I mean, it's not only from listening to DSA that I see he picks things from other people. And I encourage everyone, please. In
all my books, I pick other people's stories.
This story is in almost all of DSA's books. Now I'm understanding why he uses stories. Yeah. And it's very important for us to discover ourselves and go out and fulfill the reason why God placed us here. Thank you so much.
Well said. Well said.
I just want to say thank God for this privilege, for raising a man like DSA in our time, and for bringing us here to learn under his feet. Having said that, I want to also say that one of our challenges as a race is our mindset. Everywhere we are in the world, we have accepted the position placed upon us, on our shoulder. Every black man on the surface of the earth has the mindset of a consumer. We work so hard, but the minute we make the money, we like to let it go. And therefore, I would like to suggest that we should educate ourselves on how to invest. Like DSA said in one of his books, money is not meant to be spent.
Yes.
If you read that book, you will be able to see how you would make use of money rather than money making use of you. Currently, I'm in food business, and in food business that I operate in, there are a lot of food items that come from the motherland. Africa. One of them is called yam. And the ones that have made their way to the United States shores, the amount of wastage that we experience when they get to that shore. If we can find a way of preserving the ones that have already harvested, we can feed the entire Africa. Currently, Ghana is doing better than Nigeria when it comes to yam production, because most of the yam come from Ghana. And the one that get to the US shore, some of them, like 50-40% go waste. So scientists that are here, please, if there are way we can do the separation, how we can preserve this yam. Just imagine for a minute that just like we talk about potatoes, we can find different uses of yam. And yam gets to McDonald's level. And all the McDonald's in the world, they're beginning to showcase yam like they showcase potato, and everybody is enjoying that beauty, that taste, the health benefit that is derivable from eating yam. How much economy we have created, both from the farmer's level to the chains of distribution and to the consumer. And there are a whole lot of products like that that are perishable that we can find a way to preserve and showcase it so that my friend here, seated here as a white man, will have pleasure eating African food with ease. So I believe with this platform, Africa is the hope of the world. Yes. And I thank God for it.
Yeah. Going over this story again, right? For me, as I was reading it, you'll notice that sometimes I'm like pausing, right? Because it's like setting answers to the questions, to the pointers that God had been opening my eyes to, that I was taking cognizance of it somewhat in some way, but not actively. You know, he's been opening my eyes to nature, to looking out at appreciating the trees, right, to just taking a walk, going hill walking, which wasn't something I used to do, but just to be away and just have a bit of focus on what is out there. I suppose what he's trying to tell me is being about, look, there's something outside of where you're currently looking. You need to come out of it and invest more time in order to be able to derive the so to say, to take the peanut apart and put it back together. You know, there was a time I was watching a documentary on a kangaroo. The female kangaroo has this ability to have a foal that she's taking care of, right? And also have, because in the summer periods in Australia, the meat becomes very scarce, right? So she knows how to, she can receive a sperm and decides when she wants it to be activated for conception to take place. Until she decides when she wants conception to take place, it will just be in storage in her. Then so basically she's had a sperm in her, she has another one that is developing in her womb, right? After about 31 days, it climbs up, comes into the same pouch, and attaches itself to like a mammary gland. But remember I said there's a teenage fowl that she's taking care of as well, right? That goes into the pouch and sucks milk from the same mammary gland, but two different types of milk consistencies are being delivered. One is thin for the very small worm-like one, and the other one is thick to be able to sustain the teenage type, kangaroo. Then when it gets to a point in time when she feels that this guy is old enough to fend for himself, then she cuts him off, and then she allows conception to take place. And when I finished watching that, I was thinking, what's the meaning of this? And the next thing that came down was, you can juggle everything together. There's the ability to juggle everything together and not be just, I can only do this. You can keep that going. The idea is there. Incubate it. When it's time to strategize, you go ahead with it and fire on with it. But in the meantime, you can continue to deliver this one. At the same time, you can continue to feed this smaller one. So you can start with this bigger project going on, and then this smaller one too is already developing and creeping up and starting to take that place. This one will start to develop itself. When it's time, in fact, it's coming clearer. When it's time, you can cut off that project. That project is enough to stand on its own. This one is developing, you are incubating the next one that is starting. So every idea that is coming through, that is like the sperm coming through, that you are keeping. You are not wasting it because you know it's only there for a season.
Wow.
This guy is the...
Can you stand, sir?
Oh, okay. This guy is a perfect example of what we've been talking about. He's a legend of legends. He reminds me of Proverbs 25, verse 2. It says, it is the glory of God to conceal a matter. It is the glory of kings to reveal it. He revealed the glory of the peanut.
And that is the worship.
Worship.
That we're talking about.
True
that
worship.
is true.
True worship. True worship.
Not just sit in church and be singing and jumping and dancing.
Yes, yes. So he is an inspiration.
It is when you unveil the glory of a thing,
yes.
that is when they worship. They are
Yes.
worshiping God.
So I'm glad you brought him into prominence, because the people that the media put into prominence are not really...
Yeah, they are not the heroes.
Yeah. I like his values as well. He was a man
Of value.
And he was a man of service to humanity. He was not seeking to enrich himself. He was seeking to enrich everyone, which is the true kingdom mentality. So he's a good role model for our young people to emulate, and for nations to look up to, especially Africa, where we come from. So he's someone we need to promote even in our curriculum.
Yes.
Because he would lift up the continent to the glory that God expects from what God has invested in that continent. Thank you.
Beautiful. Well said. Well said. Well said.
I want to talk a little bit about DSA book on the beauty of diversity. Is it beauty of diversity in Nigeria?
The beauty of Nigeria's diversity.
Okay. After today's teaching, I begin to see the importance of the book.
Okay.
How the book is very important. Because I've had some, I come from a family of farmers. And my dad is a businessman. We lived in northern part of Nigeria. I now remember there was a time he started having problem in the business. And the indigenous, the Hausa people, they introduced my father into, because beans, they grow beans a lot in the north. So my father was introduced to this beans business. You will get the beans from the farm and you go and preserve it. Maybe after 4 or 6 months, you now sell it and you get twice the price. People from the south will come and get the beans and take it to the south. And also one of my cousins, he was a taxi driver when I was in Nigeria. So I just saw him a few years ago, and I discovered the man is doing very well. He's built a house now. He bought a car. And I now asked him, what is he doing? He moved from the northern part, and he moved to the eastern part of Nigeria. It's
East?
not, yes, he's a Yoruba man, but he moved to the east. So I now asked him, are you still driving taxi? He said, no. He said when he go to the east, he went and trained himself on this local herb. How to become a local herb doctor. The physician through the, not, I won't call it herbalist. Do they call it herbalist?
Herb specialist.
Herb specialist. He went there to learn about it. And that is what he's now doing big time. He has built a house in my town through that. So what Bishop is, DSA is saying about diversity.
Diversity of
It's a
Nigeria.
great blessing. And another person, 3 persons in my family now. One man is a retired man. He discovered the business of palm oil.
So your dad is because of the Hausas.
It's the Hausas, yes.
That he was able to
Do that
diversify his business.
into business.
And your uncle, because of the Igbos,
he
was
moved
able to become.
Yes. Another one also, he went to another town. This man lived in the south, especially Osun State. I think maybe whether it's Benin or Ondo, he went to that side. They deal with palm oil a lot. So he now went there and started getting palm oil. We process it and keep it for
So our country is like a continent.
So I mean that book I have
And
not even read
appreciate
myself.
one another.
So I can see what
The
is inside
beauty
the
of
book.
Nigeria's diversity.
So I can see what is inside the book, how much we are too loaded on every side. We are too loaded.
Are you serious?
So sorry, sir. The only thing I want to ask now that I believe in.
And that book actually is selling right now as a pre-order for $2 only, because from next week, from next week is going to be, of course, $20 or something. So $2. The beauty of Nigeria's diversity and the understanding masturbation and overcoming masturbation. Those 2 books are on $2 right now on Amazon. So if you go and get them on time, you might be lucky to get them for $2.
The only thing I want to say, DSA, here now is conversion on a scientific level. That is the major area.
Conversion on scientific level.
You see, people have succeeded in taking product from one part of Nigeria to the other side, but not being able to process the product. Like these beans, for instance, now. I don't know what we can get from beans.
If peanut is like that, what
was that beans? Because already we knew something that come from beans in Nigeria. Now, what will be inside beans? What will be inside palm kernel?
Yeah, just one thought. I think that at the same time, let's say that business is secondary, because I think that first thing is God's nation, who is learning to live a right way, because you have in a way, how to say, you have sharing the understanding how we can be led by the Spirit, at the same time be living full life, working and serving. And that's why I think that the major question is the heart question, because in a way, as I understand, in African culture, people are looking for what are the ways to get rich.
Yes.
And
fast,
that's why
quick.
Yeah, and that's why the question is that basically this kingdom life is for those who have themselves been broken down and who are who God has made my heart soft, so we can show compassion and we understand our calling. Yeah.
Yes. Beautiful. Okay, they said, do you still want to do photographs? They said they want us to do photographs. But before we close the lesson today, I would again like to call upon anybody that could help us with these, what do we call them, slides, PowerPoints. If you can help with the PowerPoint, we just need volunteers who will be able to help us with PowerPoint. Please write in the comments right now that you will be able to help us, because we are giving to you, and it's also for you. It's not for me. I have my own notes, but for us to be able to do, so for me to be able to show more PowerPoints to you people. So if you can help, please write in the comments, and somebody will get in touch with you. Also, if you can cut videos, if you know how to cut videos, we will also need your service. Thank you so much. And do I just close, or our doctor is coming? Okay, I think then that will be the end for today. I just felt inspired to share that story. That's one of my heroes, and I thank God I did. It's like people really got the picture of what we have been talking about this week. So, but you know, from what I'm seeing Mayo was saying now, it's like they want me to come back and teach at 3 o'clock again. So if that is the case, that is good for you, because I have all these messages. I have more messages that I want to teach, and tomorrow is ending already. So that might be a good opportunity for you to get more. Of course, we'll still come back in February, not in January anymore. We've moved the HMT. Somebody wrote me yesterday, but was it a mistake that it was written February? No, it's not a mistake. We moved it from 2nd to 7th of January to 2nd to 7th of February. So the next HMT is going to be in February now, from the 2nd to the 7th. So you can go and register for it, and just write to hmt@godembassy.org. Yeah, so we'll be happy to see you people there. But we'll continue if we don't finish now. But while you are still here, let's get maximum that we can. So if they want me to teach at 3 o'clock, I guess I might just oblige. So see you guys. Peace. At 3 o'clock, that is our time. But for you guys who are watching from England, for example, that is 1 o'clock your time. And Nigeria, I think, is 2 o'clock Nigerian time and 2 o'clock European time. And in America, that will be 10 o'clock in the morning, I guess, Eastern time. So just in less than 2 hours time, right? Like 1 hour, yeah, almost 2 hours time, 1 hour 45 minutes time. Yeah, so it's in 1 hour 45 minutes time. We're going to come back for another class. Bless.